Hi everybody, Chris Titley here and welcome to Scoreboard.
This episode is powered by Swyftx, Australia's top-rated crypto exchange and proudly homegrown, just like many of the athletes and business leaders we feature on Scoreboard.
Hi, it's Chris Titley here, and on today's episode of Scoreboard, the podcast, I'm joined by Alex Saundry, founder and managing director of More Than Management. Alex, thank you so much for being part of this series.
Thanks for having me on, Chris. Good to chat.
Alex, we're here on Tuesday, the 22nd of July, 9 a.m. How's your Tuesday? How's your week been so far?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Just came back from a great weekend of relaxation from Dalesford with my partner. So ready to gear up and go for a big AFLW season ahead, which is nice.
Excellent. Now, More Than Management. Let's get the 30-second elevator pitch, the spiel for listeners out there.
Yeah, the business was created in the beginning to be more than just a manager, and in that sense I was really fortunate to have 5 years of great experience across the men's game, and after being a female athlete myself, I wanted to create a space and an environment where female athletes felt valued, felt they had a space to thrive, but felt they had a space that they were the most important thing in those four walls. So More Than Management was born just over 7.5 years ago now, and taking leaps and bounds into different sports and different areas of business.
Your love of footy, where did that come from?
My dad, and I think, I have an older sister and a younger brother. My younger brother never played football. He was more into the arts and the drama, which my mum loved. So when kind of my brother wasn't super, I guess, sporty and didn't want to play football, he played sports of his own. But I decided to go down to my dad's old football club, St Bernard in Essendon, and play under 12s, and played in a grand final with my cousin and my uncle as the coach. So I guess my love for footy started there, but to be honest, the true love for it started at Auskick when I was really, really little. So I was there every Saturday, didn't miss a beat, loved getting the Powerade and the Killer Python after the session. As well? I love my football, but I'm a bit of a just love sport and community in general.
Yeah, no, what is it about sport and in particular Australian rules that you love the most about it?
I guess sport in general, first of all, is just a place where people can connect in with one core purpose, to create an environment, a winning environment, to win something and come together with one common goal. Which is what I love, the teamwork, the different types of people it takes for the ultimate success to happen is something that I've always really loved. I've always been someone in sport that I love playing a role in a team. I don't necessarily want to be the superstar or the main leader at the front, but being able to play a role that contributes is really important. But I guess Aussie rules in general, like it's, the biggest game in our nation. So for me, you go to any state in Australia and you've got footy nuts, and it connects you not only at work, it connects you at school, on the weekend, it connects kids with other kids, the different colours, but it also creates a great competitiveness. But I guess the main reason I love sport and AFL, it's created great communities around the country for many different people from all different walks of life.
And when you were playing in Auskick, and maybe even a few years after that, did you think about the goal of wanting to play professionally and play in the AFLW?
Yeah, I guess the AFLW wasn't, even a possibility at that time in my eyes. But I always wanted to play sport. I didn't know if I ever wanted to be professional, but I knew that I had the mentality and the drive that if one day I got the opportunity, that I'd definitely give it my all, and whether I'd be successful or not was another story. So, I always wanted to play. I always thought it'd be super cool to be a professional athlete. Was I the athlete that I hoped I would be? No, I didn't probably get the opportunity to do that, but I will be forever grateful for the opportunity being, drafted to the Giants gave me.
Yeah, and then those games that you played there, I remember pretty clearly, and I suppose you mentioned it didn't end the way that you would like. Do you want to talk about that time in your life and how you're feeling in regards to maybe what next?
Yeah, I guess I remember my second year at the Giants. I didn't play a game in my second year. I had bad bone stress in my lower leg and wasn't able to get back on the park. I was available for the last couple of rounds, but definitely wasn't the fitness that I wanted to be after, being off legs for about 8 weeks. And it's not an environment that you want to go back into when you're not fully fit as well. And for me, I think that I always knew that I had my job on the side of being an agent and one of the biggest male player agencies in the country at the time. And I knew that after finishing that second season with the Giants, I was going to go back to that job full time, which I was doing whilst juggling the football commitment too. But I remember sitting there with my coach at the time, Alan McConnell, and just talking through like what I wanted. And I think that I'd gone through a really big personal evolution through that year that, when I was injured, what I was contributing to the team and what I could do. And I spoke a lot to Alan about legacy and what I wanted to do. And I remember Al took me out of the room and we went off for a walk around the Giants facility. And then Dave Matthews, the CEO at the time, joined us as well. And on the spot, they were like, "We want you to work for us here. We want you to come up and work for us." And at the time, it wasn't the right thing for me to do, to, I guess, move my life full-time up there and leave the management space. But what that gave me was a reassurance that I was, I could contribute really well off the field as well. So it gave me the reassurance to go back to Melbourne and, resign from my job at that agency at the time and start More Than Management, knowing that if More Than Management wasn't meant to be, that I would be able to contribute at a club level significantly with people that really believed in me, in Dave Matthews and James Avery, who's now down in Tasmania, and Alan McConnell, who's my coach at the time. So forever grateful that they provided that reassurance that I probably needed at a point in my career where I didn't know whether I was going to try to continue to play. I would have had to go back through the draft to get to play, if I wanted to be really, listed again at the Giants.
You talked about 7.5 years ago, the business. Do you remember the first little iteration of it, maybe registering the domain name or registering the business name? Does it come back to you pretty clearly?
Yeah, it does. I remember sitting in an office with Elise O'Day, who was actually a client at the time. And Elise is retired now, but Elise is also an accountant, and her boss, who she's now a partner of the accounting firm Nagel Accounting, Tony Nagel. I remember sitting in their offices and chatting through, I guess, what More Than Management would be, how it would look, all of that. And for me, it was great to, register the name and kickstart it. And I pretty much, from when I registered the name and knew what I wanted to call it, I was into logos, websites, and starting to build what the identity would look like as well.
And 7.5 years down the track, I've done a little bit of research around your goal setting and the time frame, etc. Has it come to fruition in terms of it where you thought you might have been 7.5 years in?
Yeah, definitely. I think what I'm most proud of as well as a small business, like I get to employ some really great people and contribute to the Australian economy in that way as well. So for me, it's about bringing people on a journey who have really similar values and a similar drive to what I do in this environment. So I'm really proud that we're creating a business and an agency that's based in Australia, that's Australian owned, and providing jobs for people. But I also think for me, the small business still has its personal family feel. When I started the business, that was really important to me, that as we grew, we had people that really understood the fabric and the DNA of what I created and what I wanted it to be. And now it's not I, it's we. And for me, that's a really big evolution. I've always said that I never wanted to do it alone. I knew I had to create it alone to create the path and the pathway for what the agency stood for and what it meant. But it's definitely, what can we do as we keep evolving? And it's definitely evolved bigger than what I thought, at the time. But I always knew when I started the business that I wanted to do multiple sports. I never just wanted to do AFL. And I think the reason for that is it provides so much more perspective as an agent. The world of AFL is a bubble, and you can get very consumed and in that bubble, and you cannot think strategically, you cannot think differently about how to solve problems in a really good way. So I feel really fortunate to, be accredited across multiple codes, but, be able to travel to Europe and the UK and sit down with clubs like Manchester City, Arsenal, West Ham and the like. So and have business partners overseas now that provide a different level of intellect and different level of understanding how to do things differently as well, and negotiation tactics and whatnot. So I'm really fortunate for that too.
The name itself is very powerful, More Than Management. Do you want to explain why the name firstly, and then what that represents?
Yeah, I think notoriously agents have a pretty bad rap in the market of just kind of taking commission off clients and not doing very much. So I guess through my experience, I've only ever been at one other agency, was that, there was businesses across the country and across the world that I'd researched and met with different agents in America and the UK and in Australia, that they were all doing some really great stuff as human beings, not only just negotiations. But I think that what was missing was the care of the clients throughout the whole entire process. There's a really big care of the client when you're trying to sign them and then at contract time. But in between those different, I guess, moments in that person's career, there wasn't too much connectivity and understanding of what that person might need, want, and require. So for me, it was about understanding the evolution of the whole life cycle of the client. And, when you start a business yourself, your heart and soul's absolutely into it. So for me, some of the clients that are my OGs are like family now. And, that's what I really wanted to ensure our people felt, that I genuinely care. And, fortunately, right now our business is growing, but I genuinely care about every single person that signs with us. It's a show of faith from them in us. And for me, it's very personal, that relationship with my staff and then also with my clients. So yeah, I think the deep level of care is really important to me. And from there, you can create a great relationship and a partnership that does great things.
Before we get on to how you select and I suppose want people as part of your agency and want to manage, and obviously there needs to be alignment of values, etc. I want the listeners out there to sort of understand the 101 economics of player agency and player management, and how, broadly speaking, rule of thumbs, how it all works in terms of percentages, etc.
Yeah, definitely. So I think like how, I guess, the world works, it works every sport's really different. So I guess structures from a financial sense are all really different. So I won't delve into, I guess, that too deeply. But what I will, I guess, from a process point of view, point out, every sport has a different way of scouting and identifying talent. In the AFL, we can't sign talent technically till their 17th year from an age perspective, 1 year before they're drafted, but we can approach them when they're 16. But so then for a whole year, you're kind of chatting and talking through before you can officially sign them. At soccer, you can sign them at 12 if you want to, which I don't agree with. In cricket, you can sign them at 12 if you want to, which I don't agree with. And then in, netball, it's the same. So from the AFL have put really great child safeguarding practices in place to protect children and their family. That, I'm a big advocate for kids enjoying sport. I love sport. I look at my nieces and nephews and hope they can just enjoy sport until, it does become serious if they want it to be. So I'm a big advocate for that. But at the same time, process-wise, as an agent, you have to scout the talent. So they have to have a level of talent when you ID them that you think they're going to be able to do what it takes to make it at the elite level. So we'll just talk about AFLW for the sake of the conversation. So you scout them when they're about 15, 16. You approach them via a portal and a letter by 16. They will engage with you, or you can engage with them 3 days after you make that approach if they've got their preferences and options open. And then from there, you go through a process of pitching and getting to know them and understanding what they may need, want, and require. And then if they sign with you, you take them through their journey and hope that they're lifetime clients of yours.
And in terms of the overall remuneration of the player, it comes in many forms. I would imagine, from wages from the association or the team that employs you, and then there's sponsorship, and then there's brand partnerships, and then there's equity in businesses, etc. Do you want to talk about that mix as a player and how that helped for your business as well, how that plays in?
Yeah, definitely. I think, gone are the days where they're just really direct payment deals and the athlete chops in and out and clips the ticket and goes. I think that, as you said, there's so many different ways. There's, the playing contract that the player can get paid. Then there's a marketing agreement with the club. The player could be employed at the club in the community department or recruiting department. And then you've got sponsorship agreements, whether that's apparel from a Boots and Runners and apparel sense, whether that's, cars, whether that's being paid to, appear on a new KO ad or TBC payment for stuff. But then social media is, in the last 3 to 5 years really blown up as well from an influencer point of view. So the money coming through social media from products and brands for players to promote their products to their audience and their community online. It is becoming a massive part of the job that wasn't a part of the job, particularly when I started, 12 years ago. So that's a massive evolution that I love. I love the commercial side of the game. And then equity in business, I've had clients in the past had business ideas brought to them and pitched to them, different models, whether it's owning a part of a gym or whatever that is. I think that athletes are being given great opportunities. My biggest piece of advice is you get great lawyers to help you, take you through those opportunities and understand if they work with your accountant as well in your structure. And then as an agent, we're there to, help advise whether does it align with your values? Does it align with where you want to go to? Do you really want to own a gym? What does that look like for you in your day-to-day, etc.? So, lots of different moving parts always, but all fun and games too.
From a business point of view, how important is it to also support an athlete through, as you mentioned, might be some sweat, might be a car, might be footy boots, might be the Pilates sessions, might be gym sessions, etc. Those things are expensive. The cost of living is going up. Like, how important is that as well in terms of not just get the hugest deal ever, but also the ones that can power you to become a better athlete?
Totally. Yeah, I think it's really important. Like we look at like the impact that deal would have. Like some, of our clients get DMs of free sunglasses or free bathers, and you go, that's probably not going to help you, but if you really want to, no problem. But the Pilates and the gyms and the proteins, and that's helping them invest in their body to create, a greater return on the other side for them as an athlete. So for me, I'm always super supportive with that. But I'm also a big believer that as an individual, when you also financially invest in something, you're more invested. So I always have a balanced approach of, there shouldn't just be everything for free. You have to invest in some things, like, whether you want the best strength and conditioning trainer, you have to invest in their expertise and services. You can't expect them to just provide their service for free for you. So I think that's a big one for me, that you've got to also educate and teach the athlete where they need to show that respect and that understanding with the exchange of services. But if it's as simple as, some boots and runners and whatnot, then absolutely try to, support where we can for financially as well.
And in terms of your balance of time, is it seeking out sponsorship for your players, but then also as they progress through and they become more, I suppose, marketable and they're more well-known, etc., the inbound as well? How do you balance your time with inbound versus outbound?
Yeah, it's a great point. Our outbound is really governed by, the clients that really want to be involved in that space. So our clients, at different times, we've got some amazing clients that will come proactively to us and say, hey, I'm really keen to work on my brand. And they'll sit there, they'll really listen, and their brand evolves and takes great shape. I remember sitting with Ash Woodland from Port Adelaide recently at a cafe in Adelaide and spoke about her brand a lot. She's always had a natural confidence and brand on social media, but she's been one of the few recently that, really listened and understood what we were going through in terms of brand pillars and brand values and social content and consistency. And her following is growing and climbing and growing and growing. And what that shows is it's her investment in her own brand and the ability for her to understand how to do that and actually execute it. There's a big gap between the athletes that want to have a brand and think it's sexy and really cool and it's going to make them money, but what they lack is the drive and the ambition to actually do the work to get there. So I normally compare it to them as an athlete. They got to where they are at the moment because they invested their time, energy, and money into their body and into, the game IQ and into, community football to get them to a point where they're professional. It's the same as the brand. You have to invest your time, your money, and your energy into helping you create a brand. And we sit down with our athletes and go through that to help them, identify who they want to be. But I will say, we'll always sit down with our athletes, but it's the athletes that listen and action what you say. They're the ones that reap the benefits from that.
What's the balancing ledger like on investing time, money and effort into your own personal brand at the same point in time, trying to be the best athlete that you can be? Is it sort of off-season, on-season, or is it sort of all the time? And I suppose some tips that you give to some of your athletes in regards to networking, connection, business events, sponsor events, etc.
Yeah, definitely. It's all the time. Brand's on all the time, just like your athlete profile is all the time. So for me, it's making sure that the athlete really understands what they want to put out into the digital world. It's a pretty scary world out there as well.
So it will stay forever. Yep.
Yeah, so for me, it's making sure they understand that, but I definitely think they can coexist. I think if you're organised, they all have off days, they all have jobs as well, and I understand that. But the ones that really want to make it work will make it work and actually reap the rewards from it. I guess some tips that I would have is understand who you want to show up as, and don't just show up to show up. Have a real clear purpose on what you want to do. So, on Mondays, if you do a recovery day every Monday, post every Monday about your recovery day. And no, people don't find it boring if you post 10 Mondays in a row about recovery. There's so many people out there now that just follow sandwich pages to understand, where the best sandwiches are across, the different states. So people want consistent content. They want to know what you're doing. They want to have an inner sanctum experience. So provide that, but also know that you don't have to share everything. If you're going to have a brand, you don't need to share every aspect of your life, but you need to be open to speaking to camera, showing a connectivityness to your audience too. We really work really closely with Meta and TikTok and all of them, and consistency is key. You can't post 3 times one week and once the next. So if there's one tip that I'd leave everyone with, it's consistency of content.
And in terms of the on-field stuff, if there's a bit of obviously roller coaster in terms of performance, and some days are bad days and some days are good days, and then do you get involved with that in terms of conversations around being an athlete yourself, around some of the tips that you've had and some of the collaboration, I suppose, within your group of athletes that you manage to sort of uplift some of the bad days within your network?
Yeah, definitely. So we use some of our, with our draftees that are coming through the draft process, we use a lot of our older clients to potentially grab a coffee with them, normally captains of the football club, when they're going through that, to just, I guess, give them a different set of eyes and different voice at different points in time. But for me, I think that, the AFLW players are really fortunate that they have the support of the AFLPA, which gives them a great psychologist network that they get for free. So our advice is always for our athletes, go and connect and find a psychologist that you can build a rapport with, and actually through those times seek professional help. We'll always be here, like as I say to them, like I'll always be here to chat and talk with, but I can't help you solve every single problem. I can't be the one person that you come to about everything, because for me, it's important for our people to have diversity in opinions and situations that they've gone through. So whilst we'll always be here to talk to them and have, they can confide in us whenever they need, it's really important that network's diverse for them. It's like being in a relationship. You can't, your partner can't be the punching bag for every single thing in your life. So you need to make sure you've got a really well-rounded network of people that help support with all those different aspects.
Alex, I recently had Ali Anderson on as my 100th episode, which was lovely, and I just worked out before our chat that she's a client of yours, and she played in the first ever season and actually the third ever game. The Lions were game number 3 in round 1 of AFLW, and she's still going as strong as she ever is now. I was talking to her about the progress of the AFLW since she started. I'm keen to hear your thoughts in regards to where it's come from, where it is now, and what you think needs to happen in terms of the future.
Yeah, I think, Ali is an absolute superstar, and it's absolute credit to her as an individual for where she's been able to get to, and she's getting better every single season as she gets older. She's like a great red wine that gets better with age. But I guess it comes down to Ali's discipline. It comes down to her consistency and her drive to be great. And I think that, her life is shaped around that. But Ali finds time to balance as well. So she goes traveling. She understands,
Yeah, a month off. I remember what she was talking about. She's like, don't talk to me. I'm out. I'm traveling. We're not talking footy. 1 month. Give me 1 month. And then about day 28, she's like, yeah, that'll do. I'm back.
Yeah, and she's so driven to train, and she can train at really high standards by herself, but she understands the off switch as well, which I think is a really important thing as an athlete to get right. So for me, where the competition was, it's 10 seasons now. We're going into the 10th season, and I just think it's evolved. Like these players, now even on a base contract is, some better than full-time corporate contracts these days. So being able to at least get a base wage that gives the ability for them to, do it full time if they really, really want to, or supplement it with a job is been important. Yes, it's got a lot of growth, financial growth, to give the players a greater financial return, absolutely. But for me, the biggest improvement I'd love to see is in the coaching soft cap, to give the players better resourcing and better expertise to actually become better athletes, which then has a direct impact on the product that we're putting out to commercial, out to TV audience and new audience. So for me, I really want to see the product evolved on field over the next 2 years, and I think with the draft talent coming through, it is going to naturally evolve over the next 2 years as well.
You've also spoken about potentially getting and being accredited in other sports. Do you want to talk about that and the level of excitement for you moving forward in the future?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm accredited across FIFA, netball, NRL and cricket. So for me, we're in a transfer window at the moment for our soccer clients. We recently transferred one of our players from the Netherlands to Sweden. Last year, we transferred 2 players from Australia, one to Germany and one to the Netherlands. And 2 to Canada as well. So for me, I'm really passionate about the space. It's a great space. It's a fast moving space. But being able to talk to some of the biggest, best sporting clubs in the world is a very, very, interesting but fulfilling thing for me to help my clients get to that spot. And I think that with football in Australia, the A-League is one thing, the Matildas is another thing, but playing overseas is another thing. So helping them move through those stages is great. And then NRLW is something we've moved into probably in the last year. It's something that we're slowly building towards as an agency. We've got 2 great clients at the moment who are incredible human beings, and just, grateful to make a good impact for them and see where that takes us. The cricket space is interesting. We've managed some of the best cricketers in the world. I was recently over in New Zealand with Amelia Kerr, who's one of the best cricketers in the world. And, her evolution as a player, she's, 24 years old, and she, plays for the Mumbai Indians. She plays in the 100. She plays here in Sydney, Australia, and for New Zealand. So her life is revolved around a travelling calendar of cricket. So I guess working with all different athletes on different time zones and whatnot, I love the challenge of, and it drives me every day. But our netballers are underpaid, and I genuinely feel really under-respected in the commercial space, but also in clubland too. It's a very transactional sport. I don't feel like they take as good of care of their people as AFL, and that may be because there's no draft system in place. So once the contract ends, there's no value for the club. Whereas football, they have to trade players, so they need to make sure that the people feel valued in order for them to make that transaction happen. But I guess every space is different. It has its different challenges, and we're in the middle of netball contracting and football contracting at the moment, and about to go into AFLW season.
How do you think about a player and how they would fit into a different team, and do you keep an eye on the different teams, obviously gaps in positions and club culture and leaders, etc., and coaches? Maybe there's someone that's not getting as much airtime on one team, but you're like, actually, there'd be a good opportunity. How do you think about all that? And then, I suppose the little fly on the wall conversation is like, hey, would you be interested in such and such?
Yeah, I think, we meet with clubs regularly throughout the year. We have a really clear process in place, what our year looks like, and when we meet with clubs and how often we do that. And it's really governed by who we've got out of contract and then what the club's also looking for. So we'll always make sure that when our client's out of contract, we're really clear of what they need as a human being, but also as an athlete. They're 2 really important key things that is really important in that process of finding them either a new home or helping them, stay with where they want to. So in AFLW, that's probably the approach. In football, I'll speak about soccer. It's a different approach. If a player wants to leave the Australian League here and there's a club in Sweden that's really keen on them and the club's got a good reputation, that player needs to essentially be able to accept that deal. We negotiate that deal on the best terms, but they need to take that step in order to get to the next step. So whilst it may not be the perfect step, it's important that our players from Australia, when they're ready, and they have to be ready, they take that next step overseas. And then if they're playing or not playing, figure out different solutions on the fly when they're over there.
There you go. And then when it comes to brands, you mentioned values a couple of times, and obviously you'll have offers from different brands, and these brands have different practices and a different culture, etc. How do you try and align it with your values, the athlete's values, and I suppose all together going, this is a good deal, as opposed to something or a brand that goes, actually, we don't agree with their practices?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that at the end of the day, we have an obligation as agents when we're brought something for a client, we'll always take it to the client. I always talk about the opportunity and the risk, and we always look at the different areas of that. I look at a client of ours, Katie Brennan, who's been an absolute OG client of mine, great friend to this day. She will not do anything, no matter the amount of money, if it does not align with her values and who she is and where she wants to go. So she's really clear in that, and she really understands that, and that has evolved over time. But I think it's knowing your client, taking it to them and going, hey, we've been approached by such and such brand. I don't personally think it really fits with you, but you need to make that call. And the reason I think it does not fit with you is because of this. But if you really want to do it, this is the opportunity and this is what you would get out of it.
Do you think brands need to engage more with sporting players per se?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think they do. I think the brands are taking the cheap way at the moment. They're going directly to the players on Instagram because the players are more accessible than ever these days, which I actually don't think brands get the best deal possible out of those players. We have a lot of brands come to us with players that are clearly not the right fit for their brand. And whilst we'll always actively, pump the client up they've brought to us, it is also an obligation of ours to make sure that when a brand engages with us, that we can get their trust in order to do another deal for another client. So it's also making sure that we brief them really clearly on what they'll get from that client. And then if we don't think it's a great fit, we'll also give them some other suggestions too. And if we don't have anyone, I will always say I don't have anyone that fits. I know a lot of other agencies put clients forward that they don't manage and try to take part of commission, but I'll never do that. It's not part of who I am. And, I know as agents, we work really hard to keep our talent happy. I don't need to go and help others' talent do that.
Yeah. And what about the conflicts, I suppose, from a league and a team and an individual point of view? Does that come quite often in regards to a brand approaching a player that is in conflict with the team's sponsor, which is in conflict with the league sponsor or something like that?
Definitely, and it's just a blanket no. You can't do anything that's in conflict. Toyota pay a massive amount of money every year to be the protected partner of the AFL, and you have to respect that, and the players are remunerated accordingly for that. So understanding the different code of conduct for each sport's been really important as well.
And in terms of the money that's thrown in terms of player endorsements, etc., over if you were to buy shares in it, would you buy shares in it for the next 5 years in terms of it's going up and there needs to be more money and the alignment between business and sport?
Yeah, definitely. I think that, athletes are a really safe, I would say from a, brand point of view, a lot safer than an influencer. Athletes are held to a really high, clean standard that if they do something wrong when they're out one night or off the field, that, they are held to account by an association and a governing body. So, yeah, the risk and probability for that player doing the wrong thing is probably lower than a person that just has their own brand, that is their own entity, that doesn't really report to anyone and has their own views and whatnot of the world.
And some of the brands out there that you work with or that you're very supportive of, there's a little microphone there you can give a shout out to.
No, I'm really fortunate to work across, some really great brands, but, the Nikes, the Adidases of the world are always great brands that athletes want to work with. But it's been really great lately to work with brands like 2XU to really get to know the people, I guess, in the business. So that's been great. They've been fantastic to our clients, particularly probably our clients that aren't the biggest names, but they're supporting our clients, the same as LSKD, which is an Australian-owned brand, which has been great to do some more work with recently too.
Excellent. One final question before I go on to a few questions about you. If you were sort of to describe to someone at a barbecue what makes a great agent, what would you say?
A great agent needs to have a level of empathy in my eyes, an understanding of where the client wants to go or where they're coming from, but a great desire to I guess, achieve what the client wants to for them. So if the client wants to leave and wants to get out, you need to be able to do that deal, or you need to be able to speak to the client in a way that gives them reassurance that that may not be the right thing for them. So that rapport and relationship is really important, and the understanding of the client, but being able to do deals and execute deals is why they employ you.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to ask a few questions, Alex. You're going to have to answer them on the spot. They're quite snappy. If you had to only have one subscription, what would it be, Netflix or Spotify?
Netflix.
Oh, that was a tough one. There's a little pause there.
Yeah, I'm a Spotify, I've become more of a silence person in the car. So
what about exercise? Do you exercise silently?
Pardon?
Do you exercise silently?
Definitely not. I have music pumping through my headphones when I exercise, but I think Netflix is probably the only thing that makes me get off my phone at night.
There you go. I went for a walk the other day and my AirPods were flat, and I was like, this is annoying, but I'll do it. And it was actually quite liberating. These sounds, I've never heard these sounds before. A dog barking. Wow. Yeah. I haven't heard that for about a year.
And I think Netflix will eventually host things like vodcasts and everything. So I feel like,
Yes. Okay. If you had to watch one sport, tennis or cricket?
Tennis.
Okay. Why is that?
From an athleticism point of view, and it's probably it depends on what format of cricket you're talking about. With tennis, I feel as though that the power that Serena Williams and the delicacy of the shots that she can play and how intricate the movements are in order to be powerful, just get it over the net, the slicing. It's just got more technical aspects to it that are really interesting to watch.
Had to visit one place, Brisbane or Adelaide?
Adelaide for the wineries.
Oh, yeah, Brisbane doesn't have the wineries. We've got a lot of other things, but yes, no, the wineries in Adelaide and also some of the big sporting events that they've had recently as well. If you had to go on a long lunch with friends or a long run with friends?
Long lunch.
Yeah, bit of a foodie?
Yeah, love my food.
Yeah, any shout-outs to any favourite restaurants out there?
Old Palm Liquor in Brunswick. Great feed me menu and great wine list.
Ah, right. Excellent. Favourite dish? You got a dish there? You know the dish off by heart?
The flatbread is...
Oh, the flatbread? Hey, You could always go back. Consistency. Yeah. We talked about consistency, right?
Consistency.
Now, spender or saver?
I'm a spender, unfortunately. I'm trying. I'm in a new era at the moment of trying to be a better saver. So my partner and I are both spenders, which doesn't always bode well in relationships. So I'm trying to now become the saver of us, and I'm trying to bring her along as well.
Oh, it's tricky. It's tricky. I'd say a saver. Cryptocurrency or shares?
I have got both. And I would say I'm more of a shares person now, only because I'm interested in how the business works. I used to be into crypto, but I would say my lack of education on crypto in that world doesn't give me the best understanding of...
Yeah, certainly there's a lot of, I suppose, mainstream knowledge to be learned about cryptocurrency. If you... tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Coffee after midday or before midday?
Both.
Late coffee at night?
No, after 2 or 3 o'clock.
Okay, 2 or 3 o'clock's the threshold, right? Okay.
3, 4.
Yep, and when do you go to bed normally? Sort of time?
I would say if I'm in bed by 9:30, it's a great night. After 10:30, I'm like, oh, am I going to get enough sleep?
Itchy. Yeah, do you sort of work off the 6 to 8 hours?
Yeah, I'll work off anything. If I need to get up in the middle of the night for a call with Europe or America, I'm happy to do it. So.
Yeah, right. One final question: New York or Paris?
New York. Going for Christmas.
So many New Yorks recently. Hey, I was hoping for Paris. Not that I'm mad at either or, but New York
is dirty and unsafe. I think I need to go back for a new experience.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Now, right. So we've been talking sport, been talking business. At a personal level, your favourite all-time sporting moment?
Favourite all-time sporting moment would have to be the Matildas on home soil.
So good. And it was in Brisbane, that particular game, or the whole tournament, of course, but that particular game.
Yeah.
Against France. Yeah, it was just unbelievable. And what a series, and let's hope that continues as well in terms of their performance. Your scoreboard moment, which is a moment in your life which is pretty easy to remember. It's kind of like, I remember that. And then from that moment, life changed.
I think that being taken by the Giants before the draft as a free agent is something that I think changed my trajectory and understanding. Without the AFLW, I don't think more than management would exist. So I remember I took the call at the old agency in the office and went out the back and was told that they're going to take me the day after the draft. So that was pretty cool and pretty special. I didn't really know how to feel at that time, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, what a moment that is. And you're right, from a sliding doors moment point of view, you don't know where you would be if that didn't happen, right? So that's a really good Scoreboard moment. So thank you for sharing that. Now, Scoreboard has picked up a sponsor. We've been talking sponsors and brands, and that is Swyftx. Crypto can take you anywhere. And we were talking about cryptocurrency before, about education. And I'm sure if you jump onto swyftx.com, you can learn more about cryptocurrency. They've got over 1.1 million users in Australia and New Zealand. But as part of their sponsorship, we're doing a new segment, and that's the bucket list. And the bucket list is your ultimate sporting event that you haven't attended yet that you would love to attend. Alex, I'm keen to understand what your bucket list sporting event is.
It is the Super Bowl. I would love to just go to the Super Bowl one day, but it's also Christmas Day basketball NBA. So my partner and I are going overseas for Christmas to New York, and I'm hoping middle of next month the tickets come out. So I've got to make sure I'm onto it to get tickets for the Christmas Day. We're hoping either there's either a game at Madison Square Garden or at Brooklyn Nets. So fingers crossed.
Wow, Christmas in New York. What are you going to do in Christmas in New York? Are you just going to lap it all up, go to the markets and eat lots of food?
Yeah, and ice skate in Central Park and all things we can't do in Australia. So I think I'm really excited. It'll be a great trip, but a great time to take off because everyone else is on holiday. So I'm keen for it.
It's interesting you mentioned that about the Christmas Day thing. It's become quite a big thing, the sport on the holidays. Like obviously Thanksgiving in the NFL has been huge for so long, Christmas Day, and we've got the sort of the Boxing Day. But do you reckon that could be a thing in Australia soon where there is a thing on Christmas Day? I mean, we've got the Monday AFL, the Anzac Day, things like that as well. But it's a bit of a thing, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it'll work in Australia. The only reason is like in America, Christmas, they take the main days off, but outside of that, they're all at work. They go back to work pretty quickly because it's not summer for them. Whereas I think in Australia that Christmas Eve day, a lot of people clock off work and it's like the first day of a really long break. So I'm just not sure it'd work as well, but I'm all for different opportunities on having sport on. That's for sure. So if it'd work, I'd be up for it. Yeah,
and I was talking to someone recently about potentially sport being on a Tuesday night on TV and Wednesday night and whatnot, which I think would be awesome too, just quietly. But I hope you get that bucket list this year on Christmas Day and then eventually make it to the Super Bowl. Now, one final piece of advice to the 15-year-old out there right now in 2025 that wants to be in sport, wants to be part of sport, whether it is business, whether it is admin, whether it is high performance, whether it's an athlete. What's some advice you can give them?
Get involved in community sport. Put your hand up for anything. When I was coming through, I volunteered a lot. First year out of school, I went over to Africa and volunteered in the slums with kids, teaching English and playing sport with them. I always had time for others and still do to this day. But I think, the most important thing is give back to your community and get experience within your community by giving back, whether that's from, an admin level, recruiting level, whether that's helping coach, the under-16s team. Whatever it is, try and give back because it'll build not only a great network for you, it'll give you great experience as well.
And specialisation as well. Like at this stage, you mentioned 12 kids are getting contracted and whatnot, and it's just one sport. So
play all sports. Play as many sports as you can for as long as you can and just have fun. I still say that. I remember speaking to a person that we were pitching to the other day. They're still juggling. And I said, just play as many sports as you can and enjoy them for however long you can.
Alex Saundry, founder and managing director of More Than Management. Thank you so much for being part of Scoreboard, the podcast. I wish you all the best in the next wave of sport that you've got going on. You've got so much going on in terms of seasons coming up, etc. Congratulations on what you've achieved thus far in your business. Looking forward to supporting and following your progress.
Thanks so much for having me on, Chris.